Okay people, this is himself and welcome to another Tekken 7 Leroy Smith guide. In this video we're going to talk about the nerfs he got and what I think of them. What I'm also going to do is discuss how I think they should have nerfed him, because in my opinion Namco haven't done enough. Let's start off with 124 and down 124. Here they fixed an issue where decisive cancel out of the stance was faster than other moves by 1 frame. Now I think this is a bug fix, so there's not really that much to talk about. Next patch, they reduced the damage on Hermit F+4 from 25 to 21. This reduces the damage on his wall combo and it means that he gets 4 points less. But in my opinion the change is minimal because it can still spike them and you still get the ground pound. Now if it were up to me, I'd take away the spike property, that way he can't break the floor and he can't get all this damage. Next patch, they reduced the damage on his DF1 from 14 to 12. Now to me that is almost a non-existent nerf. 2 points of damage is not going to change the way the move is used. What they should have done instead is change the frames on block. At the moment it's -1, which is the same as other DF1s. But the thing is, he has safe extensions, and when other characters have that it's -3, so that's what his should be as well. Next patch, they increased the distance between Leroy and the opponent on DF3 when the move hits them while they're down. Now this is a noticeable nerf, because before he could get over 80 damage off FF3. Now he can't, because the pickup doesn't work, and that makes things a bit fairer. Next patch, D24, they reduced the damage from 17 to 11. They also changed it from -11 to -13 on block, and on hit it's now -2 rather than 0. Now the frame changes aren't a big deal because you wouldn't use this in the neutral anyway. The damage though is noticeable because this is his max damage jugglender and it means that now he does a bit less damage. Next patch, DB13, they reduced the damage from 20 to 17. Now this seems minor, but it's not, because this is what you use in his combos, and when you couple that with D24 it again means that he does a bit less damage now. Next patch, DB1 1+2 is now -10 on block rather than -9, and the opponent is closer. Now this is important because the first hit high crushes, the second hit wall splats, and the string is an NCC, so people would use it near the wall. Now it's no longer a low risk high reward option because you can punish it, and if you're king a giant swing attempt is guaranteed. Next patch, back +3, they reduced the damage from 23 to 21. Now this is another minor nerf. 2 points of damage is next to nothing and the move is still dangerous. Next patch, up forward 4, they changed it from -3 to -8 on block. This is noticeable because before at -3 he could sidestep and still do stuff. Now at -8 he can't, but he still has access to his parry and this will work against any move slower than 10 frames. Now if you're interested in his other parries, then I already did a video covering them, so if you want to see it there's a card in the corner and a link in the description. Next patch, up forward 3+4 1+2, they reduced the wall carry on this. Before, after FF3 they could get a wall splat, now they only get 48 damage, which to me is a sensible nerf. Next patch, FF22, they reduced the damage from 20 to 15. Now this is another minor nerf. 5 points of damage doesn't make that much difference, the move is still good, and I am going to talk about this in more detail later. Next patch, the cain, they've allowed Geese to parry it, but more importantly they've changed it on block. Now the opponent is closer, there's no stumble, and it's -7 rather than +8. What this means is that it's no longer like a rage drive, and that's the type of nerf he needed, because he shouldn't just get plus frames off a long range high damage launcher. Now on block he can still set up a parry, but as a king player what I do is D3. This is almost uninterruptible and on hit it's +1. Personally, if I were Namco I'd do 3 things. I'd reduce the tracking, put it back to +8 and have this as his rage drive. That way he'd only get it in rage, and it means that people have to put a bit more thought into using it. Now those are the changes we got in this patch, but there are other things that I think need to be addressed. From the trailer, we saw that Leroy is a Wing Chun master, and in the real world, this style involves being up close and using muscle memory and sensitivity to deflect attacks and counter it. Because of that, it makes sense that he has parries and chain punches and counter hit tools. What doesn't make sense though is the jumping kicks like up forward 4 and FF3. They rarely do this in Wing Chun, and when they do, the kicks are small. They go for shins, knees and thighs, so I don't see why he has stuff like this. If it were up to me, I'd rework the entire character, but it's unlikely that Namco will do that. So what I'm going to suggest is making changes to the properties of some of his moves, especially the ones which I think make his offense a bit too good. Probably the most problematic move is up forward 4. This is a safe, low crushing, mid hitting launcher, and it also hits grounded. I don't think there's any other move in the game like this. You can just use it over and over again and you have almost nothing to worry about. Now if I were to change it, I'd remove the launching property, which to me is the most dangerous aspect. Instead, I'd have it just force crouch on hit, and that to me is a lot fairer. Another problem move is DB3 1+2. This comes out in 18 frames, so it's unseeable. But the real issue is that it tracks so well. It means that his offense is brilliant because no one's going to duck because his moves are so good. Now to nerf this, what I do is simply reduce the tracking. It should at least be sidesteppable to Leroy's right side, if not both. Speaking of good mids, another one of them is down 1+2. This is a 17 frame mid hitting counter hit launcher and it's 0 on block. It also forces them into crouch, so their options are limited and Leroy can do almost anything. Now in my opinion, this has to get nerfed. They have to reduce the range or the frames on block because as it is just too good. The last change that I propose is to FF22. As I said earlier, Wing Chun is a close range art, and in the real world, when they move forward, they shuffle. They don't dart across like this, so to me, the move doesn't fit in with this style. The other issue is the way that it's such a good whiff punisher. It's got speed, it's got range, and it launches. And when Leroy already has good defense, why should he have this as well? If it were up to me, I'd remove the launching property and reduce the range. That way it makes it a bit more sensible and it fits in with his style better. Now I know you guys have your own ideas, so feel free to drop them in the comments. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitter. There's often short clips that I upload that don't get a video on YouTube and you might be missing out on something.